Hey there, happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining us for a little extra where we're going to talk about the book of James. So last week we had talked on Free Real Estate Fridays about faithfulness, and I mentioned how I just had kind of struggled to get through my reading and was kind of going through the motions. So wanted to go back, take a look at James, and am so glad that I did. It kind of prompted me to create this extra little version and share some things with you. So if you were able to read it, I hope you find these helpful. And if you were not, there's still time. And please feel free to take these and carry them over. And hopefully there is something that will be sparked for you as well. So James chapters 1 through 5 do a great job of telling us what to do, what not to do. It's really kind of an awesome guideline for our behavior as Christians. James talks a lot about doing what we say, right? Where our works meet our faith, and how we sort of need to be the full package, the real deal, in order to be effective. So if we go to James chapter 1, the theme of this chapter to me was worry not, right? As Christians, we know that there are going to be trials and there are going to be troubles. In fact, I find that as I go through my faith journey, the more that I do to try and expand the kingdom of the Lord, the more kind of trouble begins to stir, as though there are forces working against me. But nonetheless, when those troubles come, we have to be prepared to lean into the Lord, to grow in His Word, and to continue on the path that God has set before us. We have to be able to do what is right no matter what comes. Trouble does not mean turn the tables, does not mean change who we are. So that's chapter number 1. Chapter number 2 kind of had a dual meaning to me. The first one was favor not. It talks a lot about not being a respecter of persons. We can't love those who are rich and do well for themselves and ignore and not be interested in the poor. Jesus really was about humility. And when it came to people that He used, was always the troubled, the downtrodden. And so for us to sort of care what sort of influence or dynamic a person has like that really does not go along with what Jesus taught us. We need to love everyone. All of us are sinners. We are all going to have sins or things that we don't particularly like about one another. That's okay. We can still love that person. The other piece of chapter 2 for me was waver not. We have to keep doing. This talks about where our works make our faith perfect. And loving people is a great way to show that faith. Right? We don't have to be on the same page all the time. I can still love you. Chapter 3, speak not. Ooh, this is a tough one. Our tongue is evil. It's just evil. Let's call it what it is, right? We have to work really hard for our tongue to work for Jesus' purpose, okay? They're a little tiny piece of our body, but boy, can they cause big trouble. They can be unruly. A lot of times we speak before we think, and it takes practice for us to have wisdom, to be patient, and to think before we speak. Be slow to speak. This is going to be really important. You ever see that example where they have toothpaste and they squeeze it out and they say, okay, now put it back in. And of course you can't. That's how our words are. We cannot put the words back in once they've come out. So be very careful about what we say, especially as Christians. Number 4, want not. This is a big one. So envy, lusting, those things that we think are so important to us. God knows our path. We have to trust that what He's given us, what He's doing for us, is exactly where He wants us to be. So those things we want, totally fine to go to the Lord and ask Him. And if He says yes, then it was part of His will and His purpose anyway. But to sort of lust after it and go, oh, why do they have it? Why don't I have it? This can become a huge burden as a Christian. So it's important not to have this focus. And then we come to chapter 5. grumble not, and pray for each other. Is our help just about ourselves, or is it about all of those around us? Are we putting the needs of others first? And that's, as far as praying, it's as far as doing, what are we doing to help each other, and letting our works be part of our faith. How can we lift each other up? How can we be that invitation that we talked about in our other video this morning? Be the light that people see. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. We can really just give bits at a time, do what we can, as much as we can, as often as we can, and be that light for Jesus. So if you haven't read James, I hope that this encourages you to do so. It was really beneficial to me, and I think you'll enjoy it as well. So hope you like that little extra. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week.